Nice.
The Admiral Bill Stubblefield.
Rob, good morning.
New York Times bestselling author John Gilstrap.
Good morning. That's the new gang, the leftovers.
The leftovers, turnovers.
Yeah, it has a ring to it.
The moldy.
It's a positive term in my view. Very positive.
I don't waste food, so I eat leftovers 5 days a week probably. Let's welcome in the longest tenured member of our crew, Mr. Michael Carl.
Good morning, everybody.
Also an attorney at law and a former tax commissioner of the great state of West Virginia. Attorney at law, Larry Schultz.
Good morning, everyone.
Attorney at law, Joseph Joey Totes Ferretti.
Can I put my resume in for Colin's job if he ever leaves it? I'd like to be attending some of those events.
Ferretti, you can and you have. The Masters is in your backyard.
Well, true that, but I haven't been to a Final Four and a Super Bowl and things like that.
There's time, Joe.
Does that mean you have been to the Masters?
I'm going tomorrow. The women's amateur is being held at Augusta tomorrow, and I fortunately have tickets to go see that. So,
Dylan?
I think it might be more accurate to say Kevin McLaughlin is going to the Final Four. Colin is his guest.
Taking his son with him. Yes.
Dr. McLaughlin.
Yes, that might be more accurate. We were trying to give Colin a little bit of love, but Dylan burst the bubble on that.
I gotta humble him. I've known him since I've been I was 8 years old or so. So
yeah,
somebody's got to carry the bag.
Is it true, Dylan? You guys were in the same daycare?
Yeah, it was.
That's a lifelong friendship right there, man. That's pretty cool.
Right?
Yeah. All right,
we had daycare.
So anyway, happy Liberation Day to all of you. Hope yours was as good as mine.
Yeah.
And with that as the backdrop, Joe, you get to be the leadoff hitter.
Rob, when my daughter was attending, my oldest daughter was attending St. Joe's, we got a phone call from her teacher indicating that she had tested out of the current math curriculum at St. Joe's and that she should be taking advantage of an option to take high school math in Martinsburg, just down the street from St. Joe's. So we availed ourselves of that option, and we're very pleased at the math instruction that she received at Martinsburg High School. As the summer approached in the last part of her 8th grade year, where she was taking 9th grade math, my neighbor came across the street and told me that, the entire math department at Martinsburg High School is leaving over the summer. And he explained to me that they were doing that because they were going to get better pay in Virginia. So almost to a person, the math department picked up and left Martinsburg High School, and we decided, well, our daughter couldn't continue at Martinsburg High School given that development, and so she attended Goretti and graduated from there. That was 20 years ago, and we are still fighting this battle regarding locality pay in the Eastern Panhandle. And given what has transpired this legislative session, and I believe your intro to today's show was Jason Barrett talking about the fact that Senate Bill 506, the locality pay bill, was not even going to get out of the Senate this year because of the feeling that delegates from other parts of the state could not support it. I'm prepared to call locality pay dead. I don't think that is ever going to pass because we have, despite sending down 10% of the entire people, and the number of people who are in the legislature, 10% from the Eastern Panhandle, we can't get things passed. That's not a failing on the part of our local delegates and senators. That's just because other parts of the state are not going to support it. And I don't see that ever changing. So I think locality pay is dead. And you guys know the statistics. I'm not going to belabor this, but you can go to Washington County, Maryland, and make $10,000 more. You can go to Loudoun County and make $20,000 more. You can go to Frederick County, Virginia, and make $7,000 more as a teacher. And you're living in a part of the state where the median house values in the Eastern Panhandle are 10 times what they are in McDowell County. Yet the teachers in McDowell County make roughly $1,500 less on an annual basis because there is no means of paying our teachers more due to cost of living in the Eastern Panhandle. So I guess my question this morning for the panel has to be this. Knowing that locality pay is essentially dead and will not happen, what do you tell a local teacher in terms of getting them to take a job in the Eastern Panhandle or to stay in the Eastern Panhandle teaching? Understanding that we're not going to get relief from the legislature, and understanding that currently we have 200 permanent subs teaching in Berkeley County. We need to have 200 more teachers hired this summer in Berkeley County. And scores of teachers are teaching in subjects for which they're not certified. Or some of them don't even have college degrees at this point. They have associate degrees. So given this situation, what do we tell local folks as to why they should take a job teaching or why they should stay teaching in the Eastern Panhandle?
And Joe, if I could put a plan B on top of this one as part of the discussion, what's another way to get locality pay other than the direct way that they've been trying? And
indeed.
You can fill in that blank any way you want, right?
I'm all ears on that one, Rob, because John Hardy gave an interview earlier this week on another station and said that 82% of money through levies and other means that is collected in the Eastern Panhandle goes to teacher salaries. So we're just about maxed out in what we can do now through alternative sources. But if others have got ideas, I'm all ears.
All right, Bill, let's start with you.
Yeah, answer to your question, Joe, is yes, I think it is dead. We've tried several approaches and none of them have worked. John Hardy took on trying to develop relationships with other parts of the state with the specific purpose of trying to get their support of locality pay. It did not work. A lot of our legislators have gone down to Charleston with the best of intention, realizing it's not going to work. The other part of your question, what do we tell the teachers to retain them or to bring them in? Tell them the same thing we've been telling them for the last 20 years or 25 years or 50 years. Locality pay is probably not on the books. The union head, drawing a quick blank on his name, Rob Lee. Dale Lee. Came up with an approach that I never fully understood, but it was giving support to the local Board of Education through tax breaks and let them initiate some additional pay.
Yeah, keeping more of the local share is how he determined that, and the legislature made a move in that regards a few years back to increase it, I think to 90% from 95%, and he's saying it would probably need to go to 80% in order to provide locality pay.
So, but anyway, I don't know the answer to it. It has been fodder for a lot of discussion, and it's something the candidates will run on in the past. They'll continue to run on it, at least in the Eastern Panhandle, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Michael Carl.
Well, this is a very important example, but just an example of a larger problem, which is the lack of local control of local government services in West Virginia, and we need to reduce the waste, the billions of dollars over years waste of money by the central government, and shift the control of both fundraising and the expenditure and development of programs, and particularly public education, back to the local governments, and this is just a big example of that problem.
So county-run school districts as opposed to state-run school districts, like they do in many other states, including the surrounding states.
Exactly.
Mr. Gilstrap.
I am astonished by the pettiness and the petty jealousy that goes into the determination. What always shoots down the locality pay is that the delegates in other counties, in the southern part of the state, I presume, the non-border counties, if you're going to get more than the $48,000, whatever is a starting salary for a teacher, I think that's in the right sleeve. then our teachers should get that too, ignoring the fact that the house that you buy down in the belly of the state you can buy a nice house, or the house that you can buy is $38,000, $40,000, $50,000, and the teacher salary is in the mid 40s, as opposed to Eastern Panhandle, where you're going to be paying $400,000, 10 times the amount for the housing. The level of deliberate obtuseness of these delegates is stunning to me. I don't think it's necessarily a dead issue, because it's an issue that it's critical to be solved. We're not going to see economic development in this state unless we fix the educational issues in this state. And to fix the educational issues, I mean, no big company is going to relocate from Connecticut or China or any place where the educational system is well established. I've told the story many times about not moving to Arkansas because of the education system to pursue a very good job. Until we fix the educational system in West Virginia, the economic development is not going to follow. On the flip side, if we do get a big industry to come here, perhaps the political pressure those outsiders bring will force the hand to make sure that we get more and better paid teachers that are here. I don't buy into the notion that money necessarily buys better teachers. I don't think there's a direct correlation there. But certainly, when you can make $10,000 or $12,000 extra by driving an extra 20 minutes, such as you can here in Berkeley County and Jefferson County, that's sort of a no-brainer. So I have hope. There's an inner Pollyanna. I do have hope that the problem can be fixed in the next 10 or 12 years. It has to be fixed if West Virginia is going to fix so many other problems that are tied directly to education, which goes to the drug issue and the everything is tied to education. So yeah, I have hope that it'll be solved, but it requires everything. And Mike Carl, I think you're absolutely right. It all comes down to local control.
And your thoughts on what you would tell a teacher, John, who was looking for a job, taking it in Berkeley County versus Loudoun or Washington counties?
Well, the competition is a lot less stiff here, right? There are a lot more openings here. So you can get your training and then move to Fairfax County or Loudoun County.
Exactly.
There you go.
From Commissioner John Hardy, I think the only approach is to fund through agencies like we did with corrections and CPS workers. I don't think the legislature will do that until they get more control over the State Board of Education. Local buy-in is 82 cents of real property tax goes to the local BOE. We have a level, special levy, and bonds. I think level is supposed to be levy. The Berkeley County Commission will be instituting impact fees soon, and the local BOE will receive part of that. No more local buy-in is possible. Now to you, Mr. Lawrence Schultz.
Yes. What I would tell a teacher working here is thank very much for your service. I, at least, maybe not everybody, but I understand that you're giving your life's work away. And every day you don't go to Hagerstown or Winchester or some other state to work is a boon to every kid here. And I know there are a lot of teachers in Berkeley County who have turned down more money in nearby places because they know that what they do is so critical. But, it's funny. In every other aspect of our life, people understand that if you want something good, you have to pay a lot of money for it. But somehow, these free market types especially think, well, we don't need to do that for teachers. This is the public schools. And, of course, we can give vouchers and we can allow for special breaks for private schools who do not have to, under state or federal law, teach kids with learning disabilities and all these other problems that come along with the social problems we have here in the Eastern Panhandle. So the money, some of the money at least, has already been given away in one form or another to private schools, which the average West Virginian can't afford even with a subsidy. So there is money there, But I don't know what you tell somebody. If that somebody is my kid, I'm saying if you can get a decent job at a school in Hagerstown that pays you $10,000 or $15,000 more, your old man's going to be calling you every day until you tell him you did it. I want my kids to be successful. I want them to be able to afford a house. 2 brand new teachers in West Virginia who marry one another. And at this point, at any place in this state, but especially here, they can cross off their dream list 2 things that are kind of an important thing to most American couples: kids and a house. Then cross it off.
This might be a non sequitur because I'm just thinking out loud, but coming from Fairfax County, the really premier private schools where people pay, gajillions of dollars to send their kids to schools, those teachers are notoriously paid significantly less than the county teachers. And they spend long times there. I don't know, there's an X factor that is not tied just to pay. And I'm going to guess that it goes into high achievement from the kids and lack of discipline issues and all that makes the teaching experience more enjoyable. So it's not just the pay, because private schools notoriously pay significantly less than public schools.
The happiness factor. Back to you, Mr. Ferretti.
Yeah, that's true, John. I served on the school board at St. Joe's, and I can tell you that our teacher pay scale was less than the public school teachers were making in Berkeley County. And there were other factors involved which kept those teachers in that school. Unfortunately, those factors are not present in our public schools, which is why our teachers in public schools, I think, have a wandering eye. And you're right, John, when you talked about, well, these teachers can come and get trained in Berkeley County and then leave for greener pastures. That is happening, as we know. I'll give you one startling statistic. Spring Mills High School has been open since 2013. Of the hundreds of people who work there on staff, there are just 20 original employees remaining today in a span of a little over 10 years. That school has had almost a complete turnover in their personnel in 10 years. It's about 11 years now. That's stunning. And that is disabling to an educational environment to have that kind of turnover. And that is happening in all of our schools, which is why I think it's one important reason why our test scores are lacking. Mike Carl brought up the point about, well, we need more local control. I live in the state of Georgia now for the most part, and I can tell you down here, where I live in Greene County, Georgia, our pay scale for teachers is determined at a state level. There is a state pay scale in the state of Georgia. Yet we are able to have differential pay. In my county, Greene County, the average teacher salary is roughly $45,000. In Savannah, 3 hours to the east of me, a growing, vibrant, historical town where the cost of living is much higher, teachers are making $20,000 more a year. They have differential pay, locality pay in the state of Georgia, and their teacher salaries are set by a state schedule. It is doable if you get buy-in from the legislature. We just don't get the buy-in. And I'm going to say this. Allegedly, our governor is from the Eastern Panhandle. Is he raising his voice about this issue to try to get locality pay? Has he made it a legislative priority from the executive branch in the state of West Virginia? I'm not hearing it. He's going to call the legislature into special session here over the summer because they didn't pass his bill on vaccine freedom and religious exemptions, but not a finger is going to be lifted to address the teacher pay issue, even though he gave it, a cursory mention in his State of the State speech that teacher pay was going to be a priority of his. I don't hear a word from him today about it. And he's certainly not advocating for the Eastern Panhandle where he presumably lives. So there's an example, again, of a failure at the state level to have meaningful voices speaking out to get these teachers some relief in Berkeley County. So it just, and as was said here today, this is the economic engine of the state, and this is also the educational center of the state. Our student population exceeds the population of half of the counties in West Virginia. 20,000 students in West Virginia, in Berkeley County, in the Eastern Panhandle. They attend school. 20,000 students. That exceeds the population of 26 counties in the state. Yet these legislators don't see it as important to make sure these students are getting a quality education and will serve as the future of the state. So I'm dismayed, I'm disappointed, and I'm defeated in terms of thinking that locality pay is ever going to come out of Charleston.
We have a producer who is also a substitute teacher in the Berkeley County school system and works with full-time teachers every week. Dylan, any thoughts on this discussion?
I think that this can apply maybe to multiple things across the board, but I think a lot of times we forget that when we live in like a market economy or like a mixed public-private, depending on the situation, type of economy, markets are dictated by what makes money. And what doesn't really make money, or not as much money, or isn't or profitable at all, is educating the general public. There is the people that can afford private schools, you can give vouchers, subsidies, but educating the general public is not a profitable endeavor, so the private sector is not really the place to get it done to the optimal level. So you have to fund public education if you're going to make it a goal of your society to educate the public. So it's kind of goes in line with what Larry said, where if you want it to be good, you're gonna have to pay for it. You have to fund it. It's teacher pay. They leave because of the pay.
Thank you, Dylan. It's 3 days a week he subs in the Berkeley County school system. And Joe, to wrap this up, I want to just go back to the comment that you made, because that was on my mind as well. The governor made mention of the fact of some sort of a form of locality pay in his speech, but we didn't hear another word from him. I didn't, at least anyway. And in regards to the calling the Senate back angrily over the summer, it was about certificate of need and vaccination freedom. There wasn't anything about we didn't get locality pay done for anybody, not just teachers. Any state employee who lives, including state police officers, if you work in the Eastern Panhandle, you got to try to buy a house on what you're getting paid, or even rent on what you're getting paid. It's not an easy thing to do, but the governor did not call them back to discuss that. Now, maybe he will, but at this point I've not heard anything about that. So that's good that you brought that up, Joe.
No, most disappointing too, Rob, because we know that these PEIA premium increases and deductible increases are going to hit this summer. So these teachers are, in essence, taking a pay cut coming up this summer. And I'm fearful we're going to see an exodus of teachers that perhaps we haven't seen in a while.
Joe, thank you for batting leadoff. We appreciate it. Bill Stubblefield, you are on the clock along with Mr. Gilstrap in the next segment. This segment was brought to us in part by the Berkeley County Health Department's Quick Response Team and by CMA Honda. Rolled $377K on the way home the other day. Getting that first number to a 4. That's the primary goal here, Bill.
You're working on it, Rob. You're doing well.
Or if I'm going to buy a new one, it's going to have to be in the next month before those tariffs kick in.
Well, buy a Tesla.
That ain't going to happen.
They're getting kind of cheap, the used ones.
WRNR Martinsburg. If you or someone you know suffers from the disease of addiction, help is available from the Berkeley County Quick Response Team with peer recovery coaches and support promptly to the homes of those who've recently experienced an overdose. This collective effort towards recovery brings resources and services to the community, including naloxone and treatment options. Call 304-267-1313 or visit the Berkeley County Recovery Resource Center at 800 Emmett Rouse Drive, Martinsburg. The Berkeley County Quick Response Team is funded through a DHHR grant with the Berkeley-Morgan County Health Department.
Panhandle Printing and Design, your local one-stop print shop. We help people manifest their visions, make them come to life. From logos, posters, and window graphics, to banners, business cards, promotional items, car wraps, and more. The options are limitless. One thing's for certain. When you visit Panhandle Printing and Design, you'll be delighted to work with our prompt, professional team as you describe to us what you're looking for. Envision, create, and bring your ideas to life with Panhandle Printing and Design.
Do you need a place to go that's quick and convenient without the worry of it being overpriced? Well, then you're in luck, because Enter and Exit has convenience without the cost. Enter and Exit, located right off Route 11, is located at 31 Meadow Lane in Martinsburg, as well as 768 South Main Street in Chambersburg. Both Enter and Exit locations are open every Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. and on Sundays from 9:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. For some great convenience without the cost, stop on into Enter and Exit today.
The future doesn't wait. Why should you? Blue Ridge Community and Technical College offers over 60 degree and certificate programs in education, IT, culinary arts, engineering, and so much more. Small class sizes, flexible schedules with evening and online classes, affordable tuition, plus financial aid is available to those who qualify. Now you can go to college. Visit us online at blueridgectc.edu. That's blueridgectc.edu. Stop waiting and enroll today.
The Palace Lounge in Martinsburg is the place to be. Join us every night to relax and enjoy football or basketball games featuring either the Martinsburg Bulldogs, Shepherd University Rams, or West Virginia Mountaineers. We will have steak night every Wednesday, trip nights every Thursday, and now taco and margarita nights every Tuesday. You can find us on Facebook or call 304-267-7520. The Palace Lounge is located at 1350 Edwin Miller Boulevard in Martinsburg.
WVU Medicine introduces Walk-In Wednesdays. The Human Resources Department at the WVU Medicine Corporate Center in Martinsburg will host Walk-In Wednesdays every Wednesday in April. A WVU Medicine recruiter will be on site 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. to answer questions about positions that are available and assist those who submit applications via Workday. The WVU Medicine Corporate Center is located at 121 Administrative Drive in Martinsburg. Stop by to learn why employees who work here thrive here.
How can you reach milestone moments despite a serious illness? Stephen tells how Hospice of the Panhandle helped his family.
My father suffered from COPD that made it difficult for him to do certain tasks on his own. Hospice of the Panhandle gave him the ability to continue his independence. My father was a bit anxious that my wedding was going to be about a 4-hour drive. Hospice of the Panhandle was able to provide luxury sedan accommodations for my dad to travel to and from the wedding one day. And they were able to provide him with assistance moving his wheelchair, mobile oxygen tanks. They put together a crisis plan if things didn't go exactly as planned. It was such a blessing to have my father there the day that I got married. Hospice of the Panhandle, they care about their work and they care about the people.
Live on with expert care from Hospice of the Panhandle. Learn more at hospiceotp.org or call 304-264-0406.
I pre-planned my funeral to make it easier on my family. They were relieved to know I'll get just what I want.
My family actually thanked me for taking matters into my own hands. Turns out having this awkward conversation wasn't awkward at all.
Pre-planning is my choice. There are certain things about me my family may not know. Now they won't need to guess.
The choices are yours. The peace of mind is theirs. Pre-plan your funeral with Brown Funeral Homes and everything will be taken care of. Find out more online at brownfuneralhomeswv.com. Brown Funeral Homes, here for you.
After a car accident, what do you get when you call Mansion Ferretti?
You get more experience from a local law firm with over 115 years of combined service.
More respect from a team who treats clients like their own family.
And more fight, because we want you to get every dollar you deserve.
Experience, respect, results. If you've been injured, that's what you want in your lawyer.
And that's what you'll get when you call us. Car accident? Get more with Mansion Ferretti. 304-264-8505.
Life is evolving. Over the past decade, the way we do almost everything has changed. Get on your phone, see something you like, click on it, and it shows up at your door. Why should the way you have your car serviced be any different? Why waste your time going to a dealership service department when Hagerstown Ford and Hancock Chevrolet will come to you? They service all makes, all models, and offer full parts and labor warranties. Hagerstown Ford and Hancock Chevrolet will come to your door or office and service your vehicle while you're doing what you need to be doing, conducting that business meeting or mowing the lawn. Why take time out of your busy schedule when you don't have to? Hagerstown Ford and Hancock Chevrolet's friendly, knowledgeable staff will come to you where you live or where you work for full service maintenance, from oil changes to tire rotations, brakes, batteries, multi-point inspections. They handle it all. Hagerstown Ford and Hancock Chevrolet is committed to delivering the best of the best to their customers. Trust them to service your vehicle where you're at home or at work. Skip the time-consuming and terminal wait at the dealership. Schedule your appointment at fordofhagerstown.com or hancockchevy.com.
We are produced by Chillin' Dylan Bishop and brought to you in part by Hagerstown Ford, Hancock Chevrolet. Also by the Mansion Ferretti Law Offices in Martinsburg. This is where I go to Joe and make him work a little bit here. Joe, go right ahead.
Yeah, I got to work for my
soup.
I guess my appearance, huh?
Sure.
Hornby still hasn't checks in the mail, I'm sure. Anyhow, office located at 201 East John Street in downtown Martinsburg. We're handling questions about personal injury, insurance claims, and the like. You can call us at 264-8505 or visit us on the web at wvjusticelawyers.com.
Thank you, Joseph. We are back with our co-hosts on the Friday Five. You just heard from Mr. Ferretti. Mr. Lawrence Schultz is here as well. Attorney
Great
at law.
to be here.
New York Times bestselling author John Gilstrap.
Good morning.
Were you irritated by that commercial for Hagerstown Ford when they ended the sentence in a preposition?
That stuff always annoys me. Yes, it does. I've learned to suck it up. I don't. There's one day I came in here. Actually, I had boiled over on a mispronunciation of a word.
Realty.
Yes.
Yeah, if I remember that, you and I were in a discussion,
Yeah.
and then John came in and immediately said, "Shut up, folks! I got a problem."
It was.
John walks in with a book that's about the size of King James Bible, and he slams it down on the ground. He says that people around here need to know how to pronounce the word realty. It's not reality, it's realty. I said, well, who says realty? He said, everyone here does. I said, okay, well, we'll try to fix that, Mr. Gilstrap, as soon as possible. Also, Michael Carr, longest tenured member of our crew.
Good to be here.
Good to have you.
Good to be able to be here.
And how? And with issue number 2, the Admiral Bill Stubblefield.
Rob, Joe led us down the local statewide issue. I'm going to go to a national or international issue, and it's the 600-pound gorilla that's in the room. Yesterday was Liberation Day, and President Trump introduced tariffs on most every civilized country in the world, including a couple of countries habitated mostly by penguins and seals, which I think challenged some of the credibility of the research. But he set tariffs on most every country, and he did it in 2 ways. One was a retaliatory tariff. If they had a tariff in place, he was going to match their tariff. The other one was non-tariff barriers, including such things as restrictive trade regulations, restricted border data flow, discriminatory license, non-scientific sanitary rules. I don't know what that means, but non-scientific sanitary rules, wage suppression, failure in protecting labor and environmental standards, suppression of domestic consumption, corruption, bribery, currency and value-added taxes. These, if you looked at them individual and group, probably applies to every country in the world, one way or the other. Certainly they apply to the U.S. and the various states. So it is, I viewed it as kind of a open door policy that you could do anything you want to do and justify it with either the retaliatory barrier or one of these non-tariff barriers. The tariffs that were imposed day before yesterday after the market closed have been described as a lot of things by a lot of people. One is trade leverage. Second, as a tax. Third one, as a recession inducer. Third one or fourth one, retribution, or a mechanism to bring industry back into the country. My question to my distinguished peers is, how do you describe the tariffs that were introduced a couple so days ago?
Joe, let's go to you first via telephone.
Well, they're shocking, as we've seen with the market's response to it, and I think they're misguided. because we've been down this road before. In the first Trump term, he levied the tariffs on China. They turned around in retaliation and levied tariffs on our farm products, soy, wheat, and pork. And in the end, by 2020, all the revenue collected from the tariffs essentially went to pay off the U.S. farmers who were damaged by the tariffs that the Chinese levied on us. It was a zero-sum game. And I you can't help but wonder if we, haven't learned that lesson, if we're not going to have to repeat history here this time around. I had a nice talk with my daughter last night. She works for a Fortune 500 company, a major clothing apparel retailer. And she described sitting around a conference room at 4 o'clock the other day, waiting for Trump's announcement from the Rose Garden as to what tariffs will be on countries where they get and where this country gets all of its clothing. And that is Vietnam, Bangladesh, the Philippines, Southeast Asia, Indonesia. And to their dismay, they saw these tariffs come out. I think Vietnam is close to 50%. Now, I can assure you, based on my discussion with her, that those tariffs are going to be paid by U.S. consumers. So it's the last description I would give for these tariffs, Bill, is it's mysterious because this is a president who reportedly got elected based upon the cost of things in this country. And here he has devised a method to drive up the cost of things. It doesn't make sense to me politically. It doesn't make sense economically, but here we are. So, yeah, shock, dismay, mystery. That's how I would describe these tariffs.
Mr. Carl.
Well, I don't disagree with much of what I just heard about it, but it's just an opening salvo. We've already gotten a response from China, but it's simply saying that the prior arrangements and oversight has not helped the U.S. economy and the U.S. taxpayers, and we're going to throw something out there to start the back and forth to achieve a fair international economy and one that's more favorable to America. And that it's just the beginning of a back and forth. And I might not like the way he's doing it, but it's certainly in response to a sorry system that we've been victims of.
Mr. Schultz.
Yes. There is a condition that some people suffer from called blepharitis, which is an eye inflammation. And I'm not a physician, but that term has prompted a similar term that's sometimes used between some of my friends and I to describe Mr. Trump. He suffers from blepharitis. He bluffs about stuff. And the problem is when you bluff about things as though we're, I don't know, selling a used car rather than running the greatest country on earth, you have a tendency to screw it up big time. And we've now threatened scores of countries, including our greatest allies. Japan has said, you know what? We're the biggest owner of treasury bills in the world, other than the biggest country to buy treasury bills for our own wealth. We're getting rid of them. We're going to buy gold instead. And we're going to buy, that's like over $1 trillion worth of T-bills that are going to hit the sales block. Do you think that price is going to go jumping up? If you do, then I ask you to take a look at the Dow yesterday. That price didn't jump up. It plummeted. Since Donald Trump's been president, his blepharitis has cost us 10% of the value of the United States stock market. And that's not going to change anytime soon. You cannot. It's like saying, well, let's threaten a nuclear war on 9 different countries just as a negotiating ploy. all over this country today, there are American businesses that are faced with a crisis because they don't know whether to expand their plant like they're halfway done doing now or shut the expansion down because they don't know just exactly how bad this recession is going to be. This is not leadership. This is just bluffing for effect. And I certainly hope he's bluffing about some of these things. You know, we've imposed tariffs on Colombia because we have such a trade deficit with them. You know what they make? Coffee. Are we going to start a West Virginia coffee plantation? Guess what? Take a look at the weather, to the extent NOAA is still around. You're going to see that we're not going to be able to grow any coffee here. We don't have trade with Colombia. We buy a product that most of us drink a bunch of every day.
Bill loves you more and more every day now. Right?
It's crazy. This is wildly unpredictable. It is destabilizing, and we're slapping our best allies in the face. Meanwhile, Mr. Putin suffers no problem. He's not going to get any problem at all from Mr. Trump. Who knows why Mr. Trump's so afraid to bluff him? But you can guess about that. In any event, this is insanity. Any decent economist will tell you that this is insanity. And we are probably, maybe 50-50 or 60-40 headed for a recession caused by this bluffery. And that's just, we get recessions for good reasons all the time. Starting one for a terrible reason, that's insanity.
Mr. Gilstrap.
I miss patriotism. What part of America first does the world not understand? This is a drumbeat that Trump has been beating since a 1980s interview on Oprah, back when he was popular, and she asked him if he would please be president of the United States. Watch the tape. We need to end our addiction to stock tables. We need to stop waiting for this instant gratification of wealth that is targeted to people who earn it by buying it, and I put myself in this category, and watching the stock tables grow. Globalism has caused 60,000 factories to close in the last 20 years. 5 million manufacturing jobs have been lost in the last 20 years. You go through the Rust Belt. We all have seen it. You go through West Virginia. We've all seen it. Wealth is not just a bank account or a 401k plan. Wealth is the ability of a country to manufacture things, to make things. That's what we've given away. Joe, with all due respect to your daughter, and I mean that with no disrespect to your daughter, the Waynesboro, Virginia, used to be the shoe manufacturing capital of America. It's dead. The garment district in New York is dead. Bangladesh is flourishing. Vietnam is flourishing on slave labor. We have our things cost more here because we have regulations and we protect our workers. And so rather than spend the extra money to have things made in an environment that is safe and protects children from slave labor, we just pretend that those children don't count, and we make things for the smallest possible amount of money, and then we bring it back in. So this plan, as I understand it, and I'm no economist, this plan through tariffs is to bring factories and manufacturers back to the United States. It's going to look different. We're not going to have, it's going to be more automated. It's going to be more robotic. We're not going to have the factories that will be built here as a result of this are not going to be the UAW factories from 50 years ago, nor should they be. But they will be here. If it's only 100 jobs as opposed to 1,000 jobs, at least it's 100 jobs here. Toyota and Hyundai have already announced that they're building new plants here. As I understand it, that Argentina is already negotiating with the Trump administration for as a result of the tariffs. So, the pandemic showed us a weakness that just seemed to get glossed over. We didn't have control over the vaccines. We actually, let's assume, I assume, we don't all have to assume this, China is our next enemy. China is our next global enemy. They controlled our vaccines. They control our chip making. They control our ship making. This has to come back to the United States. To be a strong nation, it's not just about 401k plans. To have a strong nation, we have to have strong communities. To have strong communities, we have to have a strong working class. And to have a strong working class, we have to have something for them to do. And to do that, we have to bring these companies back into the United States. And that, as I understand it, is what the tariffs are all about.
Mr. Stubblefield, final word is yours.
Yeah, bringing industry back, bringing manufacturing back. The government did not force these businesses out of the U.S. The consumer market did. They could buy a product from Southwest Asia that cheaper than they could something made in Nebraska, for example. iPhone said if it come back to the U.S., it's going to go from around $1,000 to over $3,000. Looking at some labor markets for automobile, it would be nice for Dearborn, Michigan, for having a new automobile plant there, but how much more is it going to cost the American people? The labor market in the U.S. averages $70 an hour. In Canada, $60 an hour. In Mexico, $6 an hour. Going to bear those costs. John's right, patriotism, bring them back. But is the consumer going to bear these additional costs? That's the question.
This is a crisis of dynamic analysis versus static analysis. Static analysis says that, okay, this is what it is now, so therefore everything's going to be more expensive. That's not how it works. As things become unaffordable, efficiencies are found. That's the way it works. So if you make it unaffordable, if you make what exists now unaffordable, then in theory, that it's adjustments are made here.
But that argues against the free market that we've been talking about.
Well, the free market is what created the Rust Belt.
It just strikes me as odd that nobody's taking into account the possibility that the adjustment to this may be a full-blown depression. A full-blown depression. So, that'll make everybody work for a lot less money. But it's a depression, which is what we got the last time we put on tariffs like this. Smoot-Hawley. Look it up.
Mr.
That's
Gilstrap,
crazy.
You get a choice to respond or start your issue number 3. It's in your court, sir.
Smoot-Hawley was a different time. It was tied to the European reconstruction after World War I and the retaliatory tariffs that came from Europe because of the reconstruction for World War I. Different times, different things. It's not.
When John can't get words out, you know.
Right.
You just know.
So how much time we got? Where are we?
You have 7 minutes.
Okay, this should go pretty quickly because I just want to go. I don't like going back in history to do kind of relitigate things, but Jonathan Allen and Amy Parnes, two journalists, one from NBC News and one from The Hill, came out with a new book called "Fight: The Inside the Wildest Battles for the White House." And in it, it's a relitigation of the degree to which members of Congress and the White House officials and the media went to cover up the Joe Biden's inability to function, and the inside battles of trying to get him not to debate and to lying to him for the reasons they didn't want him to debate, the fact that Obama fought very hard to have an open primary because he had no faith in Kamala Harris's ability. Apparently, a lot of people didn't have faith in Kamala Harris's ability. And then there was the open lying to the public to cover up for the weaknesses. So my question to the panel here, in very few minutes left in the segment, is the fact of the losing the election, they're held accountable to that degree. Is that enough, or is this really a scandal for which people need to be held accountable? This is a fragile notion. The whole business of dishonesty in government is troubling to me. Should there be prosecutions?
1 minute on this for each of you. Larry Schultz, you go first.
Yes. I don't think this is a whole lot different from other things we see. And in fact, we now have a 78-year-old person who is in the office. And I'm sure if he starts to very badly decline, we'll hear all kinds of public statements from his cronies about how much slippage there's been. And we won't hear any more about how he's going to run for a third term. This is what our politicians do. I will say this, for a guy who is as demented and weak-minded as Joe Biden is claimed to be, we sure had some recovery going on there that we're not seeing any of. And I think there could be a time, despite the fact that the race turned on inflation and other problems, when we're wishing that things were as good as they were under Joe Biden.
Mr. Carl.
Well, everything John said about Biden is true. And the problem is, the reason that they kept him in there or let him become president in the first place is because they didn't have anybody else. That, in other words, that whole the Biden situation and this last election reflects the complete collapse of the effectiveness of the Democratic Party.
Mr. Stubblefield.
Yeah, John, you asked the question, was it enough they lost the election? We're in a mode now of prosecuting or having inquiries. I think the majority of the people would say the country, the Democrats, paid more by the losing the election and the direction the government's going right now, i.e. tariffs, than any inquiry would be.
Joe, they've yielded time to you. You have much more than 1 minute. Go right ahead.
Okay, well, I was just sitting here. I kind of long for the days when the national crises were DUI and wokeness. That seems rather quaint today. But to John's point, I mean, John, you made a comment which really made my ears perk up here. You asked at the end of your query whether or not there should be prosecutions. I don't know that the criminal code covers, maybe White House staff and some parts of the media covering for Biden's infirmities. At least I hope not. But I will tell you that Ezra Klein, who's a liberal columnist for the New York Times, wrote in February of 2024, 6 months before Biden got out of the race, that there were questions about Biden's capacity. So at least in some liberal circles, there were some questions being raised. Now, it fell on deaf ears with regard to perhaps the Democrats and the party itself, the DNC. And for that, I was very disappointed. And it was clear and evident from the moment he took the stage in that debate that there was a problem. Anybody who looks at that objectively could see that was a situation where he essentially crapped the bed and it didn't look like he was up for the job. And recall that it took him many weeks after that before he would pull out of the race, much to the dismay of a lot of Democrats who had some hope of winning the election. So, yeah, there clearly was some sort of effort to hide infirmities, and I think the party has paid for a price then and still today as it searches for a leader that right now has not stepped forward.
John, 30 seconds to wrap it up.
There's an inner Mr. Smith in me that I really want to get back to the time that we can trust government, and I don't know that we'll get it. We don't trust any of the institutions. I don't trust any of the institutions, and it'll be a long time before I do.
That was a quick wrap-up.
No, I only have 30 seconds. I don't know how to count to 30. I want more bumper music.
Deadline he's met.
Hey!
If you didn't hear
that's harsh.
Joe said that's the first deadline he's met. Yeah. All right, very good. Larry Schultz, you're on the clock. Mr. Carl, you are on the on-deck circle as well. This segment of our program brought to you by the Skinner Accident and Injury Attorneys at Skinner Wins .com, also by WVU Medicine, Berkeley Medical Center, Jefferson Medical Center, and by Larry DeMarco and Company at Century 21 Modern Realty Results. UMass Acela playing us into the break, born this date, 1939. More to come.
Remember all the sports we played when we were kids?
Oh yeah, swimming, tennis, basketball,
Football, soccer, track. I loved winning.
I still do.
Our competitive spirit is still going strong.
But now we use it to win for our clients. If you've been hurt in almost heaven,
call the Sevens, 304-777-7777.
SkinnerWins.com.
The Shenandoah Apple Blossom Festival is celebrating its 98th Field of Blooms. Queen Shenandoah Mary Claire Davis is ready to be welcomed to Winchester on Thursday at the Village at Orchard Ridge Queen's Dinner. On Friday, catch her in the royal coronation ceremony with all the pomp and circumstance. Saturday night, party the night away with the Queen and her court at the Queen's Ball and Dance Party, presented by the Insurance Center of Winchester at the George Washington Hotel. Visit thebloom.com for more information. That's thebloom.com.
Did you know that anybody can have lunch at Berkeley Senior Center? Hello, this is Amy Orndorff, Executive Director at Berkeley Senior Services. We serve a healthy, nutritious, and delicious lunch 5 days a week at 217 North High Street in Martinsburg. For seniors age 60 and up, the charge is by donation only, and for those under 60, it's just $7.25. And while you're here for lunch, take a look at all of our great programs and activities. Find out more, including our daily menu, at berkeleyseniorservices.org or by calling 263-8873. We look forward to serving you.
It's your wellness update with Floor Pools. Today, correspondent Robbie the Duck investigates new ways to manage stress. Let's go live to Finland. Well, our fine feathered journalist has discovered something truly relaxing. Saunas. Yes, saunas have been an integral part of life in Finland for over 2,000 years. Saunas help you find peace, reduce stress, improve circulation, and even detoxify your body. Go on, Rob. Now bring this Finnish tradition to your home. Floor Pools has the perfect sauna for you. From compact models to luxurious retreats, choose from traditional, infrared, or hybrid models. Specially priced starting as low as $73 a month at Floor Pools in Chambersburg, Hagerstown, and Martinsburg. Floor Pools' intrepid, web-footed field reporter will bring you future sauna updates right here on the All Quackness channel. Until then, remember, relaxation is just a sauna away.
In the market for a new vehicle? Then look no further than CMA's Toyota of Martinsburg and CMA's Chevrolet of Martinsburg, all in one convenient location. We have hundreds of new and used vehicles available, so you'll be sure to find exactly what you're looking for. And with CMA's Love It or Leave It promise and our lifetime powertrain warranty, you can buy with confidence. Visit us online at CMA's Toyota of Martinsburg.com and CMA's Chevrolet of Martinsburg.com, where owners just care more.
When you're looking for the perfect gift, look no further than L.A. Roberts Jewelers at 146 North Queen Street in downtown Martinsburg. Choose from a huge selection of unique items, from the finest diamonds that make your eyes sparkle to exquisite timepieces, figurines, and collectibles. Buying from L.A. Roberts Jewelers means that you've made the decision to do business with people who've excelled in the industry for more than 100 years. They'll be here tomorrow when you need them, and if you need your jewelry or your watch repaired, they'll do that too. L.A. Roberts in downtown Martinsburg. Old World Jewelers for a new age.
April is National Donate Life Month. WVU Medicine is joining the effort to raise awareness for organ donation. Did you know that more than 100,000 people are waiting for life-saving organ transplants? One donor can save up to 8 people through organ donation, provide sight for 2 people through cornea donation, and restore health for more than 75 people through tissue donation. Join WVU Medicine and help spread awareness about the gift of donation. And if you haven't registered, visit registerme.org.
Everything gonna be all right this morning. Oh, yeah.
That's the voice of Muddy Waters, born this date, 1913. That was even before you, Bill.
That was before me. Slightly,
before
though. Only slightly.
This segment of our show today brought to you in part by the Wagner Law Firm. Also by...
When I was a young boy.
Hold on.
at the age of 5.
There you go. Also by Floor Pools. See Travis in the Martinsburg location, and he'll take care of you at Floor Pools, Winchester Avenue, Martinsburg. It was this date, 1841, that William Henry Harrison died in office, and from that election forward, every 20 years through John F. Kennedy, the person elected on that cycle died in office. Odd, right?
Yeah.
Which, when Reagan was then elected in 1981, this is when that 20-year pattern was brought to light when he got shot. He survived it, and that was the end of the pattern. But you can look that one up. It's quite an oddity in American history. We are back with the Friday Five, including Joseph Joey Toits Ferretti via telephone, New York Times bestselling author John Gilstrap, Mr. Michael Carr, longest tenured member of our crew, attorney-at-law Lawrence Schultz, and he starts off, did I mention Bill too?
It's okay.
Admiral Bill Stubblefield, and Mr. Schultz leads off with issue number 4.
Yes. What does the failure of Elon Musk's $28 million gambit to try and seize Republican control of the Wisconsin Supreme Court say about the public's view of Elon Musk?
Fair question.
I think that it's a not a difficult question for most people. I do think that working people are not interested in their state. Maybe in New York or California it might be different, but in a rural Midwestern state like Wisconsin, they're not looking for a billionaire, richest man in the world guy to come in and tell them, while wearing a cheese head, who their Supreme Court ought to be. And I think it actually cost the other guy votes rather than helped him get votes. There was a significant beatdown of 10 points in what was billed as a very close race for control of that court. And I guess I'm hoping that this will serve as a message not only to Mr. Musk, but to some of the people who have promoted him so much, that maybe the upside to this guy isn't quite what you thought it was.
Mr. Carl.
Well, I think there's a lot of upside to that guy, and I have great respect for the sacrifices that he's made to try to improve America's circumstances in many, many ways. And I don't think there's any certainty whatsoever that the candidates he supported lost because he supported them. I think it was close because he was involved. So I don't buy this as an example of how widely disliked Musk is. I think he's well respected, and the people who loved him and supported him 6-7 years ago are hypocrites if they change their minds.
Interesting take. Mr. Stubblefield.
Yeah, I think
you might be one of the hypocrites he's describing.
No, I am. I think because I have a lot of admiration for Musk as a engineer, as a financier, and as a marketeer. He's built a couple of businesses into something out of nothing into world-class operations. The automobile, the SpaceX, and others. Phenomenal individual in so many fronts.
He was the guy behind PayPal, wasn't he?
He started PayPal, exactly right, and then sold and went on to other things. But I do not think those characteristics, those attributes, extend to politics. Mike, if you look at the numbers, the presidential race was much, much, much closer in Wisconsin about 4 months ago than it was with this Supreme Court race. They interviewed several people after the election, said they would have voted for the Republican-leaning individual except for Musk coming in. We'll never know for sure. I don't know. But I think that it's not just the Larry's question was, is Musk's shadow being diminished somewhat or glow being diminished? I think probably it is, but not necessarily just because of Wisconsin. I think people are tired of Doge. and the indiscriminate reduction in force. Everybody says where the government's bloated, no question about that. But we go back to just a few years ago to the Clinton. They were able to reduce government substantially, but they did it in such a way that shock waves are not sent throughout the country. I think that Musk is, and I think Trump's going to benefit from this. Trump's going to get what he wants, but Musk is going to be the fall guy.
Joseph.
Well, I said at the beginning when this was first announced that what Musk was going to do in the federal government, that he is going to someday be very disappointed that he ever signed up for this. And I think that some of that disappointment has to be showing through with the way his company is being assailed internationally now, where his sales are down across the globe. I think Elon Musk is being used. I think he's being used for his wealth. I think that he's used to keep the Republicans in Congress compliant, under threat of having a primary well-funded by Elon Musk if anybody steps out of line with what the Trump administration wants. And I think the $28 million he spent in Wisconsin, which was a third of $90 million that was spent on a state Supreme Court race, should be seen as an abomination by anybody in this country. That is absurd, that we would have that kind of money spent in an off-year election for a Supreme Court justice at the state level. This is crazy. And this Citizens United case will be a black mark on the Roberts Court that will endure for decades, because they have just basically untethered these billionaires to play in politics and spend whatever money they want. Thank goodness the people of Wisconsin, in a Trump plus one state, gave the Supreme Court justice a 10-point victory over the Musk-financed candidate. But I don't know where this ends, but this is just craziness that this kind of activity goes on in our politics today. I can't imagine anybody could make an argument that that is somehow advantageous for the people of this country.
Jonathan.
I just think that George Soros spent his $72 million more carefully than Musk spent his 28. Yeah. People invest into the elections this way all the time. Musk he's become this interesting lightning bolt. I think it shows how the Democratic Party at upper levels, they're lost and they have no principle at all. This was the electric car. This was going to save the planet, and Musk was the guy to do this for us. Without electric cars, by golly, we were all going to die. So I guess these attacks on Tesla plants are actually crimes against humanity now, right? Because that's what we were told. The success of Tesla, I think, was driven in large measure by the $7,500 subsidies that have gone away. As far as the disaster that happened in Wisconsin, I don't think it's a disaster. I think that they got the voter ID. The Republicans got voter ID that the Democrats were against, and I think that's okay. If you're going to win, that's not a bad thing to walk away with. The presidential race in Wisconsin was won by 30,000 votes, so it's always been tight. And the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, as I understand, it's all about gerrymandering, cheating, gerrymandering the vote to make sure that the Republicans will lose 2 House seats so that the Democrats can pick up 2 House seats that they otherwise wouldn't earn. The Democrat way of doing business. So, that was that worth $28 million to a guy that's got $330 billion? I can't even do that math in my head. Is that the equivalent of me putting down 25 cents for a cup of coffee? I think it's kind of like that. Does it ruin his brand? I don't think he cares. I think if Tesla were to shut down, if he lost half of his wealth, he'd still have $150 billion. So I don't think it matters to him. I think what he's doing, he considers to be a patriotic measure. I consider it to be a patriotic measure. He's taking a lot of abuse. He's not getting paid for it. In fact, he's losing money for it. Donald Trump has lost a third of his wealth as a result of all of this.
What?
So, well, $400 million for the...
Those are just legal fees, John. You're thinking about last year.
So, well, that's, $400 million. That adds up.
Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where you can take a position that seems, frankly, unexplainable. The people of Wisconsin said, "We don't want to see you out here wearing this cheese head and trying to explain to us how this is going to be done. We're not interested in that. And by the way, we don't want you leaning in on this race the way you did." Yeah, they did get, with a lot of Democratic votes, they did get an amendment passed that, frankly, Mr. Musk did not weigh in on very much. He wasn't campaigning on the thing that won. He was campaigning for the guy who lost by 10 points in this very close state. The other thing is, I've been a liberal Democrat all my life, and I never had a lick of use for either Elon Musk or Tesla, sorry, Bill, from the beginning. That was never going to save my humanity. That was never going to change anything. It was just a new technological innovation that maybe someday, when I'm very, very old, will actually be a majority of all the cars. Now, U.S. manufacturers are developing vehicles where the panels don't blow off when you drive down the road. The fake welding panels on the fake Cybertruck. By the way, offline, I'll be glad to explain to you how, as a truck owner all my life, the calling of that hatchback a truck is an insult to every rural American.
Have we gone down the rabbit hole now?
Yeah, I'm afraid we have. That's what cost him the race in Wisconsin.
There was the
is
truck.
that whole truck
The
thing.
truck?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, a couple things about that race bugged me to no end. I think in America, we like quiet bribery. You know, we've kind of functioned as an economy on quiet bribery. You know, when John DeLorean tried to do that on the open, it really backfired. You know, when you come to a town and you're trying to buy votes publicly as loudly as he was, people kind of, I don't know, I think they rebel against that a little bit. We like bribery done in a back room. We don't want to know about it. We just want to try to benefit from it, okay? The other part of that was both of the judge candidates. If there was a way to do this, I'd have had them both thrown off the ballot. The liberal justice comes out, or judge comes out and says, "I'm a liberal judge. I'm a liberal judge. I want you to interpret the Constitution of your states. I don't want your politics involved in this." Then the other guy comes out and says, "I am loyal to Trump." You're a judge. You shouldn't be loyal to anybody except the book of laws that you govern by. And that's it. Period. End of story. I'd have thrown both of them off the ballot after those statements.
Isn't this the line that West Virginia is about to cross?
Yeah, that is exactly the line.
You're encroaching on my subject.
All right.
And with that, we go to Michael Carl, issue number 5.
Which involves this very issue about a partisan election of judges. It doesn't involve Musk at all, but for a long time, you know, when the Democrats controlled West Virginia politics, one of the things I really disliked was the partisan election of judges. That it's a different, separate part of our governmental function, and it should not be partisan and political. And now, apparently, a certain number of the majority, the new majority party, the Republicans in the legislature, want to go back to a partisan election of judges, and I think that's absolutely the wrong way to go. And hopefully it won't materialize. But I'm asking, what do you agree?
All right, and what do you believe are what's the downfall of having partisan elections for judges, Mike?
Is it
the downside?
The law is set, and the judges ought to apply the law that's been in place, that it was created by partisan activity back and forth and free elections, which is supposed to be the system of democracy. But once the law's there ought to be independent adjudication of it.
Mr. Stubblefield.
Yeah, Mike, we've had this discussion around the table before. I'm fully agree with you. I think it should be nonpartisan. I'm disappointed that the Senate, West Virginia Senate, has decided to put it back on as an issue. We asked Mike Haight this morning the status of it. He does not know the question. A lot of folks do not think it'll pass through the House, which is taking a different approach this year. The Senate is still fighting these cultural warfare battles, House less so. I think there's several reasons why we could argue against it. There's rarely do you not have a sense of where the candidate resides. Having an R or D behind his name, I don't think is really necessary. The PACs are going to make it perfectly clear where a candidate resides. So you don't need to advertise an R and D. The PAC's going to do it for you. I just think it's it's not something we should be doing. Plus the fact, from a practical standpoint, it puts the final decision of the general election. There's frequently the case that a lawyer has a practice, first-time judge has a practice, and it's awful difficult to close down that practice in about 2 or 3 months. So from a practical point of view, it's better to have the election as a primary as opposed to a general.
John Gilstrap, 1 minute.
I'll take it a step further. Having spent most of my life in Virginia, the whole idea of electing judges feels weird to me.
True.
They've always been appointed. And then by being appointed, which I guess is a partisan act, but without having to stand election, I think you find the judges find that sweet spot of justice. But since we do have elections, taking it that extra step to be a partisan election just makes me feel really uncomfortable, because that's the opposite of blind justice.
Mr. Schultz.
If I have to worry as a litigator about the judge's political party when I'm getting ready to try a jury trial, then I'm going to quit. I'm simply going to quit, because it's a proof that the system is broken. I've practiced before probably 15 elected circuit court judges in this area and in other places in West Virginia. Not one time did I ever get the feeling that I was getting a ruling because this judge was a Republican or a Democrat. I often disagreed with the rulings, and that's what the appellate courts are for. So I could do that, and I'd be happy to say to myself, at least, not to the public maybe, that the judge was dead wrong about this one thing. But he wasn't dead wrong because he was a Democrat or a Republican or a Libertarian. He was dead wrong, or she, because I disagreed with the way the law was being applied to the facts of my case. That's the only issue. The other side thing I would mention is we are the whole notion of due process of law in the United States of America is under assault, and this will play into it. Due process of law simply says, as the Fifth Amendment tells us, that before you can be deprived of your life, liberty, or property, you must receive the benefit of due process of law. That doesn't mean follow the Republican playbook or follow the Democratic playbook. It means follow the Constitution and the laws of evidence and the laws of relevance and so forth. And if you don't get that, then I don't care what party you're in. That's a bad judge.
To the phone with Mr. Ferretti.
Yeah, Mike Carl, thanks for bringing this up, because I, like you and Larry and others who work in this profession, are very concerned about the reputation of the courts. John Gilstrap said it this morning, that he doesn't have faith in any of the institutions of government. And that's an alarming and I think a more pervasive feeling that is developing in this country, and it's a shame. We hear from politicians a lot, and I think it's they don't understand, I think, sometimes what they're saying, but they get an adverse ruling that's adverse to their political interests from a court and claim that the judge is legislating from the bench, when nothing could be further from the truth. Oftentimes, judges make calls on cases. They interpret law in a certain way. It's not legislating from the bench. It's their interpretation of the application of the law. And they have to write an opinion in support of those determinations that they make. And they have to cite law as a basis for their determinations. They don't just weave this out of whole cloth. So I think sometimes our politicians are guilty of making those accusations in a hollow way. And it does great harm to the court system. And I can see it now. We have the Attorney General of the United States attacking federal judges. That's a violation of her oath. She's an officer of the court. It says in our ethics rules we are not to attack judges because of the way they rule on cases. And here she is, the leading lawyer in the country, taking aim at these federal judges. Again, doing great harm to our court system. So I think partisan election of judges, the fact that a candidate thought it was appropriate to call himself a Trump judge and the other one to say I'm a liberal judge, Rob, I'm with you on that. That's disqualifying.
Mike, 10 seconds to wrap it up.
I can't tell you how good I feel that I got a unanimous response to my point.
You got 5 out of 5 on that one.
Yeah.
Good job. Michael Carl, closing it down. We got final thoughts coming up in just a second here. And it was this date, 1968, the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. Final thoughts after these.
All things ain't what they used to be now. Where did all the blue skies go?
Hi, Crescia Hornby here. Larry DeMarco, broker of Modern Realty Results, believes he has some of the best real estate agents in the Eastern Panhandle. Agents at Modern Realty Results have years of experience and knowledge of the local real estate market. Agents within the office work as a team to provide quality customer service. We strive to always ensure client satisfaction through handling every transaction with honesty and integrity, all while offering competitive rates. Modern Realty Results is veteran-owned and managed. Please call us at 262-4222, modernrealtyresults.com.
The thing I'm most passionate about with my clients is that 95% of them that come to me, they've never been in trouble in their lives. They've got careers, promising futures, things that matter.
So thankfully, after it was all said and done, I had no DUI and I had no more stress facing me or my family.
When you're on the fence whether to hire a DUI attorney, I always say that you really cannot afford not to. My name is Harley Wagner. My law practice has been exclusively focused on driving under the influence cases throughout the state of West Virginia.
If you're going to hit like trash all day, I tell you what, I got a real chance here. Oh, hey, speaking of, I was coming down the road the other day back from McIntosh Valley, and I saw a billboard with these crazy deals that Panhandle Dumpsters have.
Drew, hey, come on.
Oh, and did you know that if you sign up, you get your first month free? Dude, sorry, man. But I just wish somebody would have told me about these crazy deals that Panhandle Dumpsters has.
Drew, how many times have I told you to sign up for Panhandle Dumpsters? They give away discounts for first responders, veterans, and seniors. If you pay for a whole year, you get the 13th month free. Now shut up and watch me hit this drive.
Signing up with Panhandle is like a hole-in-one every day.
We start with Joe Ferretti via telephone. Joe, you're on the clock.
I hope Governor Morrissey was listening to our talk about teacher pay.
Mr. Schultz.
I hope everybody has their garden tilled up because we're going to get some rain this weekend.
Last weekend of March Madness, enjoy.
Who you picking, Bill?
Florida.
Mr. Carl.
It's early in the season, but the Cards are where they belong, on top.
And the Pirates are where they belong, too, on the bottom. Mr. Gilstrap.
I'm spending the weekend alone with my imaginary friends.
Well, this sounds like a conversation we should have started with, not ended with. Yeah, that's a little bit troubling, in fact, unless you're a puppeteer. The Dave Ramsey Show is coming up next. This is Talk Radio, WNR Martinsburg and TV10, and we'll talk to you again in 70 short hours.